All right, folks, Beyond the Gates, episode 55. We moving along. 8 out of 10. Thought it was pretty solid. A good start of the week. Now, this episode, let me put it this way. I know there are a number of fans who don't necessarily care for Ashley and Derek and the potential pairing of Andre and Ashley. But let me just say up front, and I've said this from the beginning, I see the reason in terms of why they are put in the show. Now, the majority of negativity online is like, oh, well, they had to put, a certain amount of white people or whatever. And like, that's not really it. I mean, you got Joey, Pamela, Vanessa, and the list goes on. But and this is just my opinion, okay? Because remember, I'm new to the soap world, so I don't know, maybe more veteran fans of that genre feel like they, and probably have more insight than I do, but maybe it's because I'm like an outsider into this soap world. I have a different perspective. Some might call it naive, but from years of the Tyler Perry and other shows I watch and review, this is just my take. Derek and Ashley are supposed to come off as boring when compared to the wild nature of the different pairings, such as Danny and Andre. And you got like a weird kind of not toxic, but a triangle between Kat, Eva, and Tomas. And then a number of affairs amongst the married or formerly married couples like Ted and Nicole, but with Leslie, or Danny and Bill, but with Haley. And the list goes on. And I'll do a separate video on Andre and Ashley. I'll go into more detail. But I just want to say up front, it makes sense to have a couple that is quote unquote ground level in order to make the show seem realistic. But that's just me. And in terms of their relationship falling apart, there are multiple reasons why that could be the case. Now, a lot, and I mean a lot of people feel like Ashley was super annoying in this episode. But to me, did I feel like she was over the top with how she lashed out at Derek? Absolutely. But you could tell it was, and this is just me looking at the context. She had been bottling up all of these feelings for so long, but she just didn't express them. She had reservations about Derek moving in from the jump. And like he said, down to his breathing, how he does things, my stuff, everything annoys you. It's just that in order to avoid straight up confrontation, she kept it to herself until she reached her breaking point, and it all came out at once. She even says, that's not what I meant, or how to say it. And then, of course, they eventually broke up. So I will talk about these two in more detail later in the video, but I just want to start that off because the main negativity I saw from the episode stemmed from those two. So before going into the full review, make sure you take a moment to like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. And just a quick update on my main channel, Our Kind of Entertainment. I should hit 80 million views today. I don't know why, but the view count is delayed. It says I need 14,000 more views, but I am pretty confident I got more than enough yesterday. It just hasn't updated, so I don't know. Hopefully later today it will update. But in any case, this channel is still going well, thanks to you all. So let's jump into it. Now, Pamela is killing it at the card table. Danny's over there celebrating. All the while, Doug is watching on thinking like, man, I wish that were me. But remember, Joey cut his ass off, basically saying like, you aren't allowed to play any more hands here until you pay back every single cent you owe me, or convince your wife to let me run money through her realtor business. So Joey is on the sidelines with Doug, and when I tell you this man does not give a crap, Joey was essentially the waiter at a restaurant or the cashier who says, sorry, your card's been declined, so everybody can hear. And it's like, wow, man, you really want to do it like that? So he keeps taunting Doug. It's like, Well, maybe you should stand over by those ladies. It seems like some of their good luck might rub off on you. That way you can pay off the debt. She'll, Joey, man, can you keep it down? Well, we need to figure things out. Either you're going to pay me back what you owe, or get me to run your my money through your wife's business. And from there, Danny tells Pam, let's cut it off before the house takes this money back. So they end up cashing out. And on the way out, she briefly talks with Doug. Like, oh, hey, Doug, what are you doing here? Then he, I think, pretends his phone went off. So Joey walks over to the side and calls Vanessa about, oh, no, I'd like to meet up with you, but it'll just be strictly business. And he's literally just taunting Doug, saying he'll snitch on him like, hey, either you tell your wife what's going on or I'll tell her what's going on. So, yeah. Going to Uptown. Maybe you should join us. Dang. He getting punked out like that, man. Doug, be a man. All right. So from there, we go over to the diner, and Ted asked Andre for help with getting Eva a birthday present, which turned out to be a picture, which I believe was a picture, considering she said, that's a picture of me when I was lying to you and your family, and I'm wearing your daughter's dress. So this had to be from Nicole's award ceremony night. And I've thought the same thing. I know people online were like, why would Ted give Eva a picture of herself? And also, I thought the same thing immediately as Eva, like, ooh, I don't know if Eva would like a constant reminder of the person she was while working for Nicole / her mom. And by her mom, I mean Leslie, because she was a mole at that point. And, you know, Ted's just trying to do things to make things right. And people keep asking, like, and I see this complaint online, why is Ted doing everything? Why is Ted working on everything except getting his wife back? I think he understands that Nicole is like, it's almost like a video game, and Nicole is the boss level. Like, or the final boss. Well, technically Leslie is the final boss, but you know what, let me reword that. Imagine playing a video game and you got like the main objective and several side quests. And if you complete the side quest, you get equipped with extra experience points, maybe different inventory for your supplies to help the bigger objectives in your game to be easier. And I feel like that's what he's doing right now. And to be honest, that's the best thing he can do. Honestly, I think the best thing he can do is do what Bill said and keep Leslie in check, because she's too much of a loose cannon. But obviously he's trying to make up with lost time with his daughter he never knew existed. And once things smooth out with Nicole, maybe he can make things work, because obviously, like Andre said, you know, she wants to be alone and whatnot. And Ted told Andre in the last episode, I wish she could talk to me so we can, like, you know, just talk things through and I can remind her of how much I love her and whatnot, because obviously that's what would make things get fixed up quicker. But I can understand that as a, I know one girl used to call me Bob the Builder, in terms of like, I would always want to fix things instead of just sitting with it for a while. But that's the thing about some relationships, where one person is like, if something is wrong, they want to try to talk it out and fix it right there, but the other person needs to process things. Makes sense. But basically she did mention how Eva did mention that hey, let's get this party started, let's order some food. And Andre gets a text from you know who to come over, so he leaves. And then from there, Eva's like, oh, I don't want you to cancel your plans or anything. Wait, what do you mean? Well, I saw that I went to the hotel room and I saw that Kat had left you a message, so she said it was important. And speaking of Kat, we go over to the country club, and she's on the phone with Chelsea, giving her updates about, Eva, in the sense that she's all too excited to bust her sister. And she bumps into Tomas, who's coming out of the gym. And as soon as they bump into each other, she goes, Who do you think you are? And I'm like, dang, talk about snooty. I mean, to be honest, neither one of you were looking where you were going, but as soon as she realizes who it is, like, oh, wow. It's like, well, you haven't called me. Well, you left Uptown, remember? Like, I know you said you left to do some work stuff and you'd come back. Well, I saw you getting cozy with Eva. Wait, dang it. I don't want to mess up. 'Cause I know in my last video, people like, Jeremy, you kept saying Eva when I think you meant to say Cat. Well, Cat was like, I saw you getting cozy with Eva and whatnot. And it's like, Tomas said, I'm trying to, well, not root for Tomas, but I'm trying to like somewhat understand him, but he's not making it easy on himself. He basically said, well, I know you said to stay away from Eva at all costs, but I couldn't help but feel bad for her and her situation. And before he can go any further, Kat immediately said, oh, well, do you know she tried to murder someone? How much you want to cover after that? Wait, what? And then, she reveals the whole recording with Leslie and everything. But I see both sides of this, where Kat feels like Tomas will defend Eva at any cost. But at the same time, I can't argue with Tomas because Leslie is a dangerous source to put your faith in, especially in terms of trying to, pin the crime of attempted murder on someone. And the thing is, remember, Tomas is an attorney, so he knows exactly what he's talking about. So from there, he even goes so far as to say, like, so even if you do play detective and get Eva locked up, even when she's locked up, she's still going to be your half sister. But from there, they actually start kissing, and it's like, wow, it's been a while. So Tomas is like, well, how about we just stop letting outside drama prevent us from spending time together and getting to know each other? I mean, on Tomas's side, it's the whole thing about when he asked Kat to convince Naomi to drop the case against the law firm. Or when it comes to Kat, she's allowing the Eva factor to play a major role in the slowdown of her and Tomas getting to know each other. But let's be real here. I mean, for as much as Kat wants to call out Tomas for defending Eva rather than getting to know her, Tomas could counter by saying, you're more concerned with spending time trying to expose your half sister than getting to know me. So it's an interesting dynamic when you look at it from that way. And from there, we get to, learn a little bit more about his characters. He has a bunch of tattoos, and he mentions that in order to pay his way through law school, he went to the Navy, and, it just made him see things differently for himself and reinvent himself, and the tattoos are part of it. And, she's like, well, usually I don't go for tattoos, but they look good on you. And it's funny because he talks about how, well, yeah, I've never really been with a virgin before, but being in a dynamic like this where we take things slow is kind of nice. So, yeah, no dinner though, because apparently Eva has to meet with either Jacob or her parents, which obviously we know has to do with, Kat has to meet with Jacob or her parents, and we know what that's about. So once the Eva thing is, basically she's like, once Eva's out of the picture, we can focus more on each other. So, yikes. All right, so from there, we go to Uptown, and Vanessa's over there on the phone, basically calling Nicole, letting her know that, hey, you're still gung-ho about selling the house, but slow it down. We'll do one thing at a time. And that's when Diego shows up, and we haven't seen him in a while. So he basically flaunts his new girl, basically someone who he's able to go out with in public. And it turns out to be Pamela. And as soon as she comes in, he does the dip and kiss, and that blows her away. And Vanessa's just dumbfounded. So they go sit at a booth, and she's like, well, wait, you just had to kiss me? Like, what's going on? Well, and then he basically explains, but Pam isn't, she isn't a novice. She pretty much knows the fact that, okay, so you just used me to make Vanessa jealous. She's married, right? Don't you ever do that kind of crap again. Oh, okay. Speaking of which, have you ever thought about modeling? Wait, what? I love how Pamela and Danny are both on that. They're on the grind, and I'm not against that. You got to do what you got to do in the game. So Joey actually shows up, and I can't say poor Doug because he got himself into this, but Joey is just, he's taking no prisoners. He approaches Vanessa, and they talk about the last time they talked in regards to, Vanessa is still in her feelings about Joey. calling out the flaws in her relationship and her marriage and the fact that, she's with other men. But in reality, it's almost like he's doing a sales pitch for himself. He uses the facade of, oh yeah, that joint property that we talked about, possibly going into together. Well, the prices are low. And there's a lot of double talk where on the one hand, you think they're talking about realtor stuff, but in reality, it's about, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me until Doug can't handle anymore. So he comes up and says that, oh, our daughter actually called. Turns out she's going through a heartbreak. Oh, no. So then Joey leaves, and then Vanessa's pissed because Doug lied. And the interesting part about this is that she's in her feelings because he's jealous. And it turns out that she finally outright admits that she's been with other men. And I hope you've been with other women. And he's like, no, it's never been other women. Well, it must be something else, Doug. It must be something else because you're not telling me. So we get 2 bits of confirmation. Vanessa finally says, I've been with other men, but you've known that because we both agreed you do your thing, I do my thing. And I don't want to leave you and you don't want to leave me. But it's the first time she's outright saying it. And this episode also confirms that Doug did not tell Vanessa about 2 weeks ago about his gambling addiction. So, no, she did not. She still doesn't know. Man, it's just crazy, the audacity. I can't imagine. I'm with Nicole. Like, just get a divorce. Because imagine being married to someone. And then and then your partner or spouse has a bunch of people on the side that they have sex with and whatnot. And your spouse is upset that you're jealous because you haven't understand. Man, that ain't for me. But hey, I'm not dogging that lifestyle. I know that in today, well, heck, even for a long time, marriage looks different to a lot. Well, relationships in general look different to a lot of people. Like you got the Nick Cannons and Jeff Bezos and, Cam Newtons and of the world, where a man of, financial resources have a bunch of baby mamas, or like, Neo. And so, and I'm only calling out the people I know of. I know there are a lot of people out there. They have multiple girlfriends at once. That ain't for me. But yeah, when it comes to this marriage, just get a divorce. And also, that brings about a big question. If theoretically these two got a divorce, what would Joey do then? Because it's like, well, Vanessa isn't your wife anymore. She doesn't care. So, guess hey, your plan has been foiled. So, after that, we go, oh yeah, let's go over to Danny and Andre, because after she didn't do so well at the tables, but Pam did. And I like the fact that she backed her friend up by telling her to cut off, basically get while the getting's good. And man, Randy tried to tell Doug that from the beginning, but nope. I'm so look, I know Doug is in deep right now, but when this fool scratched off $50K and blew it all on the horse race, that's when I lost any and all sympathy I have for Doug. At that point, I'm like, no, it's one thing to have a problem, but it's one thing to be a dumbass. I feel like Red Foreman from That 70s Show. It's one thing to be a dumbass. Like, we don't know exactly how much money he owes Joey. I don't think it's like $1 million, but I'm thinking it's like a few $100,000. But the fact that this dude had $50K and just threw it away, because, he could have been like, well, hey, Joey, here's like $30K. Like, maybe he didn't want to give all $50K at once. I can understand that. But it's like, hey, you know what? My hand's messed up. Here's $30K to make a few down payments. Well, here's like a hefty down payment that'll buy enough time for my hand to heal. Then I'll get back to work and, this, that, and the third. But the fact that this fool kept going back to the tables and kept digging himself deeper, man, oh man. But sorry about that tangent. So yeah, Danny and Andre are in bed. I did think it was kind of cute how she had the poker chips and threw them on him. So, they did that, making sweet love. And Andre gets his feelings hurt because he's hungry. And he's like, well, hey, you want to go to Uptown or, somewhere to get something to eat? How about we just order in? And that turns into so why don't you want to be seen out with me in public? Well, yeah, we go to Uptown. Pamela's there, and if she learns about us, she'll go blabbing around. And on the one hand, I thought Danny made a good point. It's like, if Nicole finds out, I want her to find out, because I tell her when I'm ready, because this whole thing about keeping secrets, it feels too close to home, especially with the Ted affair. And she basically puts it to the point where what we have now, where I'm a lady, you're my sister's nephew in the streets, but behind closed doors, me and you get freaky in the sheets. That's essentially what this is. And I thought we had an agreement of how we'll handle this thing. But Andre, wants more. So you can tell he's at the point where he wants to kind of settle down, as opposed to be out here in these streets just, having sex with whoever. But Danny, on the other hand, just got out of how long was that? 20, 30 years? No, yeah, I think it was 30 years, right? Yeah, because I'm getting it mixed up. The 20 plus years is how long Ted's affair was, but I think it was like 30 plus years of Danny's marriage. Yeah, there we go, with Bill. So you got one person ready to settle down, the other who just got out of a situation where she's been the other half of a marriage for so long that I can understand her not wanting to, plant roots with another man. So, and Andre's like, well, I'm not going to ask you to give up yourself or everything like Bill did. And it's like, yeah, I understand that, but that's how it has to be. You do your thing, I do my thing. Okay, I better go. So that's essentially what's going on there. And like it or hate me for saying it, but as much chemistry as these two have, they don't need to be together long term. They have a fun fling going on. I think they both will help each other realize what they need. Danny, in the sense that she needs to find herself before she finds someone else. And basically, like Andre said, reignite that fire I know you have within you. And then with Danny, she's helping Andre to learn that maybe someone as, easily turned on as me isn't what I need. I need a more wholesome woman, not someone who just sees me as a sex object. There you go. And with Ashley, oh boy. Oh yeah, there are two more things to talk about. So the Ashley and Derek stuff, and then the Leslie and Jacob stuff. So let me talk about the Leslie and Jacob stuff, and then I can wind things down with the Ashley, Derek, and eventually the Andre chat. Look, I can sum up the Leslie and Jacob scene pretty quickly. This woman has chemistry with everyone. I don't know, she just has a sly way. She's the kind of actress where you cannot take your eyes off her for a second, because I feel like any scene she's in, if you look away for just a moment, you're afraid you missed her slashing someone's throat, because this woman, pun intended, is literally cutthroat. So Jacob is confronting her about the recording and whatnot, and she's like, oh, well, there's no evidence and there's no video of you, video showing Kat on the, not Kat, Eva on the bike and whatnot. So there's that aspect of it. And she didn't throw her daughter under the bus. And, well, just like the majority of fans were saying, you could listen to that recording and tell she was being rather sarcastic. It's just that Kat is so overly anxious to, I don't know. Kat is reaching levels of Candace Flynn from Phineas and Ferb. You know how Candace always wanted to bust her brothers for doing stuff to, basically get her parents to catch them in the act of doing stuff. That's essentially what Kat is trying to do to Eva right now, because she doesn't like her. I mean, she has obvious reasons to. You betrayed the family. You exposed my dad. You hurt my mom. They trusted you with everything. And you're trying to put the moves on my man, even though me and him aren't even official yet. So there's a lot of jealousy and whatnot going on. But essentially, Leslie's like, well, I should be free to go. I did my favorite exchange. A lot of people talk about how, oh, it's so hard to keep up with names. Yeah, especially when you have like, what, 12 of them? Touche. But no, my favorite line is when, well, hey, you must be off, against the law for that brat to record me like that without knowing. And she even tried to, film my daughter on camera too. Well, actually, that is illegal in some states, but in D.C., it's not. What kind of flimsy law is that? The way she just kind of broke it down because, she thought she had one up on Jacob for a second. Like, hey, I know something about the law. But she did mention something interesting like the day of the accident. Oh, well, I spent the afternoon at the diner with one of my former friends, Mona and Jan. Well, that was in the afternoon. What happened that night? I was working. Well, so if I contact your employer, would they be able to tell me something? And I'm thinking, like, since when did she have a job? She told Bills, like, I have no income or anything like that. So I'm like, okay. But, yeah, she pretty much gets up to leave. And it's like, well, officer, I hope you find the culprit because some deranged psychopath is out there just plotting again. And I'm just thinking, there you go, leaving breadcrumbs to have the person you talk to tossing and turning at night because now they're thinking about, wait, is she really guilty or isn't she guilty? Woo! But either way, this is a good scene. Now, to round things out, poor Derek. Oh, man. I know if you don't like the guy, you had to feel for him because, like I said, the majority of messages about this episode were people hating on Ashley. Now, she had forgotten her lunch at home, so, she's home for work to pick it up, and she's caught off guard because, number one, Derek's blasting music. Hey, it's always just good to have moments like this showing these characters being characters. Who doesn't like having some music or something playing in the background when they're cleaning up? So she's taken aback that, like, wow, okay, he is capable of cleaning and whatnot because, he's just a bit sad about how things have been stressful around the apartment, and he's just showing that, hey, I'm not some slob and whatnot, and I can pitch in around here too. So then we get to the two big no-nos. Number one, when she goes to the fridge to get her lunch, she notices all the scratches and whatnot. And that's because this man used a Brillo pad on stainless steel. Bruh. Come on now. Really? That's the equivalent of putting aluminum foil in the microwave. So look, I feel like if you've ever had an apartment, you could feel for Ashley because when it comes to that deposit fee and when it's time to move, the maintenance or landlord or whoever, property manager, they will look for each and every excuse possible to find ways to deduct money from your deposit so they don't have to give it back. Like, oh, there are some scuffs in the floors, or oh, there's a dent in the wall, or whatever the case may be. So he's like, oh, well, it's no big deal. It's not yours. Exactly. Meaning that they'll charge it against me. Well, I'll pay for it. Derek, there was a black container in here earlier today. Where's my lunch? It smelled spoiled, so I threw it out. It was, I forgot what she said it was. It was some stuff I never heard of before. But, well, hey, it's in the trash, but here you go. I'm not going to eat out of the trash, but I cannot lie. He did rationalize it. It's in a container. It's, sealed and everything. And I mean, think about it. These kind of containers in the commercials and all, like you could put them in the ocean and everything is sealed. It's okay. It's science. It's not science. I mean, technically it kind of is. Now, I ain't gonna hold you. Like Ashley, I wouldn't be... Okay. I'm not saying I would eat it from the trash, but it was sealed. Okay, there's a difference between, all right, this is a trash can with a bag that has nothing in it but my sealed lunch that was probably only tossed in there about an hour ago, versus I know you did not throw my lunch into a trash can with a bag with a bunch of other trash in there. See the difference? Like I said, there's a major difference. But, okay, well, I'll just buy a new container and everything. You don't get it. They're supposed to be reusable to help the environment and stuff like that. So, Derek could not win for losing. It's like, look, I can clean the buffs out like with my Bronco and everything. Eventually, Ashley gets something to eat, and she is pissed. You could tell by the way she's chewing, and poor Derek he just kept putting gasoline on a fire. And like I said, it's like he thinks he's throwing a bucket of water on the fire, but in actuality, it's just more gasoline. He could not. He's just like a lovable goofball, but you can't help. Yeah, he's a doofus, but he means well. And that's the worst part. Like when you're a person, you're just trying to do things right. You're just trying to help out, but then you're making things worse, and the other person isn't really helping you cope with this situation. So yeah, man, he could not do anything right. So she's getting ready to go back to work and can't even look at him until she eventually does. Fine, I'm looking at you. And then he finally tries. I thought the scene was well acted. I thought it was well acted because I felt the both of their responses to everything. Derek is just trying to hold things together because it's like, ever since I moved in, nothing I do is right. The way I breathe, my stuff and everything is just, it feels like it's getting under your skin. What happened to us? Look, I love you, Derek, and I love you. It's like, so what's going on? It's like the fridge, like, well, I cleaned it. You can barely tell the scrapes are in here now. And look, I'm not the fridge. I'm not just stuff in the fridge. You just can't, I don't clean the buffs out. And essentially saying that there's more that's wrong with their relationship than his stuff or the refrigerator. You don't want to get another place, do you? No. I want my place. You don't want me here in it, do you? I had to pause the episode because I felt that. I'm like, oh, dang, man. It's like he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming. So he starts off by saying, like, so, going back to what I mentioned before, you don't want to get a new place together? You don't want me here. And then I don't know how to explain it. Part of me feels like Ashley didn't want to upright say, let's break up. But Derek did ask the question of, so you don't even want to be together, do you? And Ashley didn't answer right away, and that was all he needed to hear. And he pretty much says, like, well, it's a good thing we're having this discussion now because, I thought moving in together would be the first step. And then next thing I'll be proposing, then we get married and have kids. And this was the line that killed me. Better that we have this discussion now than sometime later on. So it won't hurt as much as it does. Well, it will hurt even more than it does right now. So from there, Ashley goes to Uptown, and Derek, we see him behind packing his stuff up. Probably took that moose head out the closet. And when she gets to Uptown, she's on the phone. She calls Shanice, who has the day off, basically saying, hey, I already called scheduling. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to be out for the rest of the shift, but I'll be back tomorrow, good as new. And as soon as she's breaking down at the, oh man, this was rough. Once she sits down and, starts breaking down crying, that's when Andre comes in and Ashley, or what's wrong? And then that's how the episode ends. So yeah, you could tell the episode is seemingly pushing these two together, but I'm just going to throw this out here. Do you think that Ashley and Andre might actually hook up? Most people would say it's because, oh, well, we know Ashley likes him anyway, but do you think it's going to be a rebound situation? And in reality, that's kind of what he is to Danny. The rebound to make her feel better about herself. in her situation because she feels like a man took everything from her. And in Ashley's case, while there does seem to be some feelings there, we know Andre has feelings, but Ashley, it's kind of a curiosity thing if you ask me. And I wonder if she'll go back to Derek or if it's I need to feel better now once he's, what's that absence makes the heart grow fonder. So who knows? But I'll get into more detail in a separate video. But thanks so much for tuning in. Pretty solid episode. And I can't wait to see what comes on today.